get your pen, get your paper, and let's get ready. Thank you so much for downloading today's episode of the Red Pill Investor. My name is John Ashley, a pseudonym of a realtor here in the great state of Arizona, here to help you with your real estate sales skills. Why? Well, just sort of my way to pay it forward for all the people who've given me the tips, the tricks, the things to say to get the contract signed when I needed it the most. Their only request of me? Well, just simply pay it forward, and this is my opportunity to you, the listener. The hopes that you'll pay it forward in your way. That way we'll keep this community alive and kicking. And boy, I sure appreciate you downloading today's episode. And today, what we're going to talk about in episode 405 is setting and getting amazing goals in real estate. Setting and getting amazing goals in real estate. Now listen, in nearly 19 years of this business, I'm coming up on 19 years next month, and wow, it has been quite a ride. And I've learned quite a few things about setting winning goals, for your real estate career. In my best year, I did 75 solo with just one assistant. I mean, that takes a lot of planning. Now, listen, you can set amazing, achievable goals for yourself that will propel you into the future that you've always dreamed about. But you got to plan for it. So what we're going to talk about today are a few concrete ideas on how you can get and set those amazing goals for yourself. Point number one, what you think about, you bring about. What you think about, you bring about. You see, oftentimes the one thing that stops us from making and achieving the goals we've set for ourselves is what we think about. You see, if you think you can do something or if you think you can't, either way, you're right. See, I'm firmly convinced over 19 years of experience has taught me that real estate is 80% what you think about, 10% who you talk to, 5% what you say, and 5% of how you say it. You see, the thing that stops you cold in your tracks, the thing that stops you from getting the deals that you want isn't a lack of leads. It's your belief that there isn't enough. You see, you think that they won't take your offer. Therefore, right from the beginning, you're working from a disadvantage. What you think about, you bring about. Point number two, timeline your dreams. You see, a goal is nothing more than a dream with a timeline. You have to ask yourself, what do you really want in your real estate career? You got to break it down into small pieces and figure out what the basic parts are. So for example, if you want to do 25 transactions, well, you got to figure out what you got to master to get one. And when you think about it, there's only 5 things that you need to get really good at. One of them is, lead generation by any means necessary. You're out there trying to find people who are saying that they're wanting to buy or sell real estate. The next would obviously be lead follow-up, because you know that not all leads are good leads. Some leads, they want to wait forever before they make a decision. Others, they need to make a decision in the next 7 days. You want to catch them when they're ready, so you got to follow up with them, relentlessly. Then, of course, you have to learn how to pre-qualify the leads that you find, because the ones that you do have that say they want to sign a contract in 7 days or less may not necessarily be able to sign a contract with you. Oh, sure, they might be ready, they might be willing, but they may not be able. So you'll need to learn how to pre-qualify that guy so you don't waste your time. The fourth thing, of course, you want to make sure you master is presentations, because it's not just an easy thing to go up and just say, gosh, I want to give you X for your house when they want Y. There's a system involved. There's a plan, a presentation, a step-by-step ideology, a way to explain it so it makes a little bit more sense and it increases your chances. And of course, the fifth thing you need to master would be your closing skills, because they're not always going to agree. Imagine that. And if you're walking away from a prospect because they said no, let me tell you what, you're losing money, my friend. And they're losing out on a great experience and a possible sale with you. Put a completion date on the end of your goal. Now, for your real estate goals, some people say write out a yearly goal. Some people say write out a 5-year goal. Others say write out a letter to yourself. And all these are great ways. But the problem is, you tend to focus on your yearly goals, you write them out on exquisite plans, and you shove them in the plans in your desk. Oh, God Almighty, we've got the smartest desks. So the problem becomes, how do you follow the plans that you've written regularly to get your dreams? Point number 3. The problem is not doing more. It's losing less. The problem, point number 2, is not doing more. It's losing less. Okay. Let's have a little be honest. Nobody else listens to the podcast except me and maybe you, okay? If you and I go on 10 appointments, okay, assuming that all things are equal, they're equal motivation, equal problems and challenges and whatnot, you get 7 of them to sign a contract with you, and I only get 5. Because of your skills, you are able to get 20% more transactions without any extra time, money, or energy. That is efficiency. Now you become efficient, okay, by mastering those 5 core competencies that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Now, let's take it one step further. Of the 7 that you have under contract and the 5 that I have, let's pretend that you and I are equally effective at closing 50% of them. Okay, we're equally skilled in that arena. We can close them and price them accurately. We're not one better than the other, and we close half of them. Now, if you had 7 contracts and I had 5, and we multiply that by 50% and round down, you closed 3 transactions and I've closed 2. Now, if the amount we make per transaction, let's say, is $5,000, you've made $5,000 more, not by spending more time, not by spending more money, Not by sending out more postcards or spending hundreds of dollars on Google AdWords. You made it because you didn't do more, you lost less. Point number 4, how to get your goals. How to get your goals. You see, there is a 3-part secret of success that all the top producers know. And if you haven't heard it, then I'm going to share it with you today. And I call it a secret of success because it's not commonly taught. Yet it is universal amongst all of the top producing real estate wholesaling agents and the agents I know and the investors I know. All the people who are the top of the field in real estate adhere to this 3-part formula. If you've got a pen, I'll give it to you. Point number 1, part number 1, whatever it would be. Each week work. I could stop right there, and that would be a good enough point, right? Each week work, right? But each week work to bring in a saleable contract first. Each week work to bring in a saleable contract first. Before anything else, before any buyer, before any seller, before anything, bring in a saleable contract. If you were a wholesaler and you got one A to B contract per week, could you live a pretty good life? If you're a listing agent or an agent, and you brought in one listing contract a week, could you live a pretty good life? If you're a listing agent who happens to be an investor, could you find one person a week who wants to sign a contract? I think you probably could. Each week, work to bring in a saleable contract first. Step 2. Work on selling your own properties first. Work on selling your own properties first. Listen, if there's anything that's ever going to give you a problem, if there's anything there's going to be a challenge with, if there's any person who's going to muck up a deal, it's going to be when you cooperate or when you have to joint venture or when you're trying to sell somebody else's property. If you're an MLS agent, you're trying to co-op a deal with somebody, that's going to have a higher propensity of a problem. Work on selling your own properties first. If you don't have your own properties, go back to point number 1. Each week work to bring in a saleable contract. And point number 3 is probably the hardest one, or part number 3 of this 3-part formula, this 3-part secret to success, is the hardest one to keep. The 3rd part, keep your promises to yourself and others. That's what stops you. That's why you can't get the goals you want. It's because you won't keep the promises to yourself or others. You say, I'm going to prospect a certain amount of hours. I'm going to do this for that. I'm going to do this for lead generation. I'm going to do lead follow-up. I'm going to take an hour for lunch. I'm going to be in at 7 in the morning. I'm going to leave at 5. You get tired. You leave early. You stay up too late. You come in late. You fail to keep the promises you make to yourself. That's the biggest problem people have and why they can't keep their goals. Keeping promises to others is a lot easier than keeping promises to yourself. Trust me, if each week you work Monday morning, you come in, each week you work to do nothing but find a saleable contract first, And then when you did that, you did nothing but work like hell to sell it and sell your own inventory. And then you kept your promises to yourself as well as others about your prospecting, your lead follow-up, what you say you're going to do, about the health you're going to keep, what you're living. You'll find your business will explode. If you focus each week on becoming more efficient and more effective, you will find that you will achieve your monthly goals a lot easier. So in closing, if you're trying to get your goals in real estate, stop getting complacent and comfortable in this 30,000 foot view that you have from your business plan. Get in the muddy trenches, in the dirt and the grime of knowing how to sell. If you need help, check out the Premium Podcast Plus. There's tons of resources available. And as always, have a powerful sales day. Bye-bye.
ROC, we running this rap shit. Memphis Bleak, we running this rap shit. B-Mac, we running this rap shit. Freeway, we running this rap shit. Owen Sparks, we running this rap shit.